trees, the way that she knows what trees are what and what grows where, and is passionately moved by the environment. And so when she decided to write this book that she is writing, My Wild Escape, and use her expertise and her love of nature to share with everyone in this book, it seemed like such a natural thing to do because she is so connected to out of doors and nature and being in communion with the trees. She's grounded. She's down to earth. She is a lovely person. She's part of the Monday Night Supper Club in Blue Lake, and I'm so very happy that she chose to join us here at the Lunchbox. When I asked her, she was like, "Oh, yes, I'd love to." So she's in the process of writing this book and getting it published, and it's a different take on a camping book and an outdoors book. So in a typically Patti Johnson way. Um, Shoshana, are we ready to go over to Patti, or will I see a sign from someone
We
when
are
we're all
ready for
go?
Patty. Patty, are you ready for us?
So without further adieu, I give you, oh, let's see if Patty Johnson's going to come on the screen. Patty Johnson, live from Blue
Hi.
Lake, California.
Thank you for that
Yay.
wonderful intro. That was very sweet. It got me all
Love you, Patty
teary-eyed
Johnson. No crying, you got stuff to do.
already. Whew. Well, hello, everybody. Let me switch over. I'm going to do some tech stuff here for just a minute. I'm kind of feeling a little nervous about the Zoom platform, but it's really an honor to be here with all of you today. I'm really humbled to have been asked to be a part of this. But this is not a familiar thing for me, so just give me a second here. Um, can I have some participant sharing or host sharing or something so I can do
Absolutely. One moment, please.
PowerPoint? Yeah, cool. Thank you. Whoops.
Is it raining out there in Blue Lake, Patty?
No, its sun is shining right now.
Oh, did you like my Irish accent there, Patty? Is it raining out there in Blue Lake, Patty?
Okay, so I have screen. Let me see if I can do it now. Let's see if it'll come up. Do you guys see a PowerPoint from my screen at all?
Yep.
Yes.
No.
Um, okay, because you guys went away for me, so what's happening here? I'm not sure.
That's okay. We've got it.
I don't see it. So, hmm. Okay, well, so I need to share it somehow here. Hold on.
You are sharing it. You can
Okay,
start the
but I can't
presentation.
start it because it's blocked by this thing here. So,
Okay. You can also start it and then screen share.
I know I'm trying to start it and I can't start it. So hold on here. So you guys can see it right now?
Yes,
Yep,
we can
we
see
sure
it.
can. Oh, there you go. Perfect.
Is that working now?
We're seeing a
Bingo.
fireplace.
Bingo, we got a
Yay!
fire.
Okay, here we go. I feel so much better. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a real honor to be here. And wow, so my name is Patti Johnson. I'm a woman, I'm a wife, I'm a mom, and it's just a real pleasure to be a part of this Woman's Fest for you today. Um, I'm not accustomed to speaking and doing presentations, especially as of late. And so I hope I hold it together for you guys because this is a really passionate journey that I went on and a story that I feel really strongly about. So you see I'm broadcasting here today from my old VW van, and it's kind of my she den. Now I call it my she den. Um, uh, so I have a couple of nicknames, Patty Bird, Jay Bird, but lately since I've been doing so much solo wandering and I've been hanging out a lot in my she den here with the pandemic and everything, I feel like it's more appropriate to be called Patty Bear. So this is Patty Bear coming for you from my she den, and I'm really glad to be sharing with you today this camping story. And so I have a lot to share. I'm going to go through a personal journey with you. share some things about that, and then I would like to share 4 epiphanies that came to me. I had quite a few more, but I'm going to share 4 with you. Maybe a little bit, read a little bit of my writing. We'll see how time goes. And then I'd like to have, if you'd like, and you have questions, I'd love to answer any questions you may have when we get to the end. So let me put out this campfire. Let's move on. Well, to begin with, it's really important to me that I take a moment and acknowledge that the land that I'm broadcasting to you from today along the banks of the Mad River was stolen from the indigenous Wiyot people. And the wild lands of the Klamath Mountains and the Northern Coast Range, where this story unfolded, where I recreate, was also stolen. And it was stolen from the Talawa, the Karuk, the Yurok, the Hupa, the Sinkione, the Waliki, and countless other indigenous people. I recognize and value the land stewardship of the indigenous ancestors of these tribes, and I support the battles of my indigenous neighbors as they continue to fight for this land. And I respect with gratitude that I'm a guest here on stolen homeland of Northwest California's indigenous people. So, you might have heard I went camping, and I actually did quite a lot of it. But it all started about 4 summers ago. And so, yeah, 4 summers ago, I gathered up my old camping gear and my furry BFF, and you can see them there in that picture. That's my dog Ryder, and we were pretty young in our relationship there. He is laying on an old futon. You can see there's an old fry pan and a raised bag. I grabbed a paper United States Forest Service map. This is several of them here, but it's an example of it. And it's a map that I had studied relentlessly. And I rallied a little gumption, and I bumped down a dirt road, which led me into the unfamiliar wilds of the Klamath Mountains and to this campground. It was early spring. There was still snow on the ground, and not one single other camper was around. And I was completely alone, except for Ryder. And it was spectacularly exciting. The air was fresh and crisp, and it just felt so freeing and so wild. And then the sun went down, and the night was intensely dark. Absolute pitch black. And it was exhilarating, but at the same time, it was really, really uneasy, unnerving. I felt really vulnerable. I felt very alone. And so despite being completely exhausted, for the longest while, fear dominated everything else about my body. And these next group of slides aren't mine, but I just had to throw them in here. Fear of this, and this. And although it was incredibly quiet and peaceful, these images floated around in my drowsy mind. But the soft exhale of the forest, the enveloping calm of the absolute darkness, all of this just gradually relaxed my body. And from some deep recesses of my mind, the words, "I'm confident, I'm capable, I'm safe," came to me. And I kept saying them over and over gently, and this helped me to feel grounded and to relax. And I slipped into the deepest sleep I had had in months. And I woke to this. And considering I felt as though I was awake half the night, I was surprisingly rested. I looked fear right in the face, and I didn't chicken out. And my fears were only the images in my mind. And it felt like I was exactly where I needed to be. My nervousness and anxiety were fading, and the outing ignited an aliveness in me that I had long since lost. As you see, prior to setting off on this wild escape, I was in really bad shape. I was suffering physically with chronic widespread pain and debilitating fatigue. I was also suffering emotionally from the invisibility of my diseases, of which I have 3: multiple sclerosis, fibromyalgia, and arthritis. And I've been carrying around a lot of grief. I worried about how I would appear to others, that I would seem lazy, so I'd push and push myself. I was convinced that I wasn't trying hard enough, that if I just got up and tried harder, that I would get better, and that I just needed to be more disciplined. But fibromyalgia is the fussiest beast of all of those, and you can't push fibromyalgia harder. If you push fibromyalgia harder, it does more harm than good. And so my actual productive hours in a day went from 6 to 4 to 2. And my depression just spiked as my broken body was holding my spirit back. So I fell into the Netflix abyss, among other things, as many of us sometimes do. And I found myself parked on the couch with this guy, binging his favorite, The British Baking Show, and about 100 other shows just like it. I wasn't sick enough to be disabled, but I was too disabled to be sick, and I had become uncomfortably numb. Something had to give. In the back of my mind, I kept thinking, Patti, you just need to get out of this house. And I would spend time walking at our beaches and parks, which was nice, but I just felt the same. And that was bleak and superfluous. I mean, what was the point? This is not living. I was taking up space on a struggling planet. So life is about choices, and it was time for me to organize them. I needed some way to reframe my life. Now, for months, like nearly a year, I had been just feeling so strongly that I was being called to get out and go to the mountains, to go camping. I had this feeling that I needed to get away from all modern stimulation, digital devices, artificial lights, combustion engine noise. I just wanted to run away and to play hooky and not be accountable to anybody. And this idea, it just consumed my days and just saturated my dreams. Now, it's not a surprise my heart longed for wildlands. In my heart, I knew I'd find solace in relaxation camping. I have had the privilege to camp my entire life, including hiking the Pacific Crest Trail in 1982, 970 miles of it from Sierra Buttes to Bridge of the Gods. I've always been comfortable outdoors and in nature, and I'm an introvert. I don't mind being alone. I love maps and I read them well, so I have some skill, but I lost it a bit. And, that's kind of that dark underbelly of motherhood and marriage that can happen to some women if we allow it. And we lose some of those things that we're really good at and that we really love. And all this while, what I know now and I didn't know then is that my chronic illnesses were slowly creeping me in over time. So I had skill, but it was a bit rusty. And then I had this loving kindness of a couple of friends who reached out their hands and invited me to go camping with them out into the wild. And I said, oh yes, this is it. This is what I've been longing for. And it planted a seed in me. It just further watered it. It said, what else is out there in these mountains? And what I want to go find out. And curiosity can be very motivating. But I knew I would not be able to walk off in wilderness. If I was going to go out into public wildland, my car would need to get me there. And although I lived surrounded by these mountains for years, the back roads, getting into them can be a bit scary. If you look at this, I'm sure we've all seen scenes like this anywhere around the back roads of Humboldt and Trinity County. I also knew that my friends and my husband, they were seeped in their careers. My kids were grown. I mean, I'd been forced into retirement, so I had time, but they did not. And so if I was going to go, most likely I would go alone. And I'd ask, but most people would be busy and couldn't do it the way I, needed to. I had an urgency to get out there and I wanted full immersion. So I took a really hard look at the privileges I do have. I have a car. I have money to put gas in that car. I have food and enough camping gear to get me going. I'm female, but I'm white. So I have a lot of privilege. I figured that's some pretty good fortune. So instead of taking some family funds that I would have used for conventional medicine or treatment, I took that and I took myself camping. And that's how early one spring I came to be bumping down a dirt road into the mountains, relaxed and excited to be in the company of the wild. And I wanted more of it. So in an act of self-love, I escaped my couch. Sorry. And I gave myself the gift of getting out of my comfort zone. I gave myself the gift of trust. I gave myself the gift to challenge myself, the gift to be scared, the gift of quiet, of dark, and of non-judgmental wild nature. And I did that by way of regular overnight camping outings, some with others, most not, to the public wildland car camping campgrounds all over northwestern California. The Klamath National Forest, Shasta Trinity National Forest, Six Rivers National Forest, Mendocino National Forest, Rogue Siskiyou National Forest, King Range National Rec Area, and all of those state parks that we have around along our coastline. And so for the past 3 years, actually 4 now, summer, spring, summer, fall, I wandered and I camped. Just me and Ryder, 85% of it, just me and Ryder. And I worked on befriending my new self. I wandered into a place and I would ask myself to arrive, to just be. And I'd let the wild world around me fill me up. I resisted doing. My only doing was to breathe. It was a sort of wakeful meditation, an exercise in mindfulness. I gave myself permission to sit with whatever, whenever. I call it I nature bathed. I challenged myself and my preconceptions. I made my own conclusions based on what I saw and experienced there, like wild versus natural, or in this case, wild versus feral, was not the wildlife I was expecting to see. I explored with unguarded alertness, no agenda per se, except for campground destination. And I allowed discoveries of all kinds. I gained skill and confidence as I wrote out obstacles, lost keys, fallen trees blocking roads, broken finger, slipped down a hillside. It took something like 40 minutes for me to unravel this rope with my wet multiple sclerosis hands. But I did it so I could hang this hobbit tarp, here, this hobbit tarp, so I could stick out a rainstorm It was the first of many. I actually consider rainstorms of camping here. It's a quintessential rite of passage if you're going to camp in northwestern California. I came away from one night's incredible thunderstorm literally awestruck and with a broken tent pole. And I did it all whilst being digitally unplugged and disconnected. And during all that camping and wandering, the excitement, the novelty, the challenges, the mindfulness, the beauty, my inner well being was truly, totally nurtured. I was building confidence in the abilities of this new me. It was absolutely an exercise in aliveness. But I also like to call it my coming into my old age story. And my epiphanies started to pile up. I dove down rabbit hole after rabbit hole, reading books and researching about my discoveries. And I have 4 epiphanies I'd like to share with you today. I just love this quote. There are 2 types of adventurers, those who go truly hoping to find adventure and those who go secretly hoping they won't. William Least Heat Moon. I love that because it just sums it up completely for me. It's like in my mind, I sort of want an adventure, but really, I just kind of want some of an adventure. Like it's enough for me to know that the mountain lion is out there. I don't know that I really need to see it. And that comes to epiphany number 1. Fear is natural and fear is good. Listen to your fear. Ask it what it's trying to tell you. Women are told to fear most things. Believe it for yourself, not what you've been told. What's important is listening to the feeling in your belly, your intuition. It's important to feel confident and have awareness of your physical surroundings. Solo camping is not for everyone. And camping with friends, of course, and family is fantastic. But if you get a chance to do solo camping, it can be pretty magical as well. I found it immensely freeing. But on the other side, it can feel exposed and vulnerable. I like to think of it as a double bit axe. They're essentially they're essential on each side. So, and it's inevitable to feel a little edgy when you car camp because you're visible, you're on display. The goal is to stay calm, evaluate, and not feed the beast fear. So I have a set of actions that I practice to soften and subdue the beast. And, maybe they're a placebo, but that's okay because they help me feel more empowered and that displays confidence. And here's my little list. The first is I arrange a check-in buddy. And my check-in buddy is that person who knows exactly where I'm going and exactly when I'm due back. And that person also has I've sent them a photograph of me standing behind my vehicle so they know what car I'm driving with the license plate in plain view. Number 2, I like to arrive at a campground before dark. Number 3, hang out and wait to set up camp. I think that's really important because you never know who's going to come in there and camp also. And you just, that just might not be the kind of people you want to hang out with for a bit. A campground's like a small village. And we all have choices. You can always pack up and leave anytime you want. Bring 2 chairs. This brings me to this picture here. And I love this because I'm actually camping alone here. And I always say I bring Ryder, my dog Ryder, a chair, but he really prefers to hang out in the tent. He just hates anything that buzzes. So he spends a lot of time in that position right there. But I bring him a chair anyway. Back your car in. Now you never know when you might need to get out of some place in a hurry. And I call it tapping into your inner Bruce Wayne. Be Batman ready to flee. It could be a wildfire. It could be a snake bite. Who knows? Just be prepared. Keep extra money hidden where you can grab it. I keep money in a couple different places and all over tucked around. Because it could be I lose my backpack, but then I might need something access in my car. So you just never know. I keep my keys and my shoes and my flashlight next to me at night when I sleep. And it's not like I'm all cuddled up with them or anything like that. But I know where they are. I could grab them in a hurry if I hear a sound or for whatever reason I need to pop out. They're there and I know, and I'm not having to rifle around frantically looking for them. And the last one on the list is to consider carrying pepper spray or bear spray. And those are okay, but you having some confidence in your own ability is probably better, but they're good. The thing is to remember with those sprays is to never use them in your tent or around your tent or in the tent entrance, because it will blow back in you and then you will spray yourself and your pet and that sort of thing. But there's something to think about, and it does help me to feel a little bit more confident. I also have a whistle on my pepper spray lanyard, and so if I fall or whatever reason, it just helps me to feel more safe. And I'm going to say right now that my number one fear is predatory humans. And I'm not going to sugarcoat that, and I don't think we should. Evil exists. Those people are out there. The goal is to be prepared and know how to take care of yourself and show confidence that you are willing to do that. When I was first heading out, this really had a lot of fear around this. And then I got to thinking, the guys that are out here, they don't know that if they have to assume that if I'm out here, I know how to take care of myself. And I think that really works because honestly, they don't really know. But with that said, I have been asked some of the most interesting and crazy questions from men while I've been out in the wilds. And here I'm obviously alone, and I've had men on more than one occasion ask me, before they say anything else to me, not hello or anything, they'll say, "Are you alone?" Now, of course, alarm bells are going off in my head. Woo, woo, woo. Who says that to somebody? Wouldn't it be more appropriate to say hi first or something like that, or get into a conversation? But to say, "Are you alone?" first thing. And I honestly think it's actually kind of benign, and they didn't mean any harm by it, and they're not aware of the how uncomfortable that made me by myself while I was out there. And I have a whole list of those similar questions just like that with my responses. And I also want to say the other thing is that being white, I'm sure, has helped me while I've been out there. Being older matters a little bit. I'm not, nobody's really paying that much attention to me. I have a whole list of camp characters I've created and different people and the way they move about camping, and I've added myself to that list as a witchy woman because I think I've actually scared other campers myself by going out on night walks and things like that. And I camp with my dog, and you saw him there in that picture. He's in this picture here, and you saw him in the beginning. And even though, the thing is, I know about him is that other people don't know. He looks intimidating, but really he is just a Mr. Peanut Butter. He thinks everybody wants to meet him and know him, and tries to make that happen. And although I've had a handful of creepy situations, I think it's really important to note that 99.9% of the peeps that I crossed paths with out there were agreeable, and they were doing what I was doing, loving the wild. But sometimes things can seem scarier than they actually are. And so I'd like to take a few minutes just to read for you my journal entry 29. It's about 5 minutes, so if you want to imagine being in that tent right there, join me in the forest here. Journal entry 29. Be brave, the sticker read, the words white and bright against a dark forest silhouette. A gift from a friend. She said my bravery needed celebrating, solo camping in the wilds and all. Daring maybe, but courageous? I'm not so sure. So I've placed the sticker where I need it, where I read it like a mantra every day. I guess I've settled into the idea of being brave, but then that was before Thursday. On Thursday, I wandered into a pure stand of conifer trees, most stately, some imposing, a few huge, a conifer cathedral of sorts. The aromas subtly seductive, dry earth and tree aerosols. There were no other campers here. I chose the one campsite off from all the rest, a large flat on the edge of Trail Creek, soft underfoot, worn in, the creek rushing by, a tidy little pile of stacked campfire wood waiting for me. I decided to take a walk to feel out the campground, Ryder off leash, being a real good dog, close but not too close, enjoying a little freedom. A sign about a giant sugar pine stops me in my tracks. 200 feet tall, 86 inches in diameter. Wow. I let my eyes drift down the sturdy, dense trunk, admire its purplish bark, wonder its age. At the base of the tree, something catches my eye. A bear. Beautiful and black, all soft and rounded. She's frozen. Both of us frozen. And for the slightest moment, we hold each other's gaze. This is so exciting, I think, so exhilarating. And then immediately I think, get the dog. I glance at Ryder, who's busy sniffing and pawing a stump. Ryder, who is about 50 feet from the bear, yet completely unaware. So ever so casually, I call him, Ryder, here. And the moment I make a sound, the bear spins 180, takes off running, and Ryder sees the flash of running fur and then on impulse takes off after it. I screamed so loud for the dog, I nearly wet my pants. I see the bear disappear over a rise. I see Ryder follow her. Panic starts creeping in. Well, damn it. I'm still yelling as Ryder comes bounding back to me, shaken but relieved, the whole incident lasting no more than 5 minutes. The dog and I spend all afternoon into the evening calming down. We both scanned and scrutinized the horizon. It would be a stretch to say that either of us were remotely relaxed. Earthly aromas and tree aerosols be damned. Every dark tree stump or rounded forest shadow a bear doppelganger. I pitched my tent nonetheless. I brought out a minimal amount of camp gear from the car and stowed it away again immediately. I didn't want the bear to have even the slightest hint that there may be something tasty over here. I contemplated a campfire for the longest while and ended up having a small one, ode to forest campers everywhere. Gazing into the embers, I imagined the life of a bear. I'm in awe to think that she can survive on carpenter ants and barely ripe salmon berries. I imagine she must always have a rumbly tummy. Dark comes to a forest like this fast and hard. Light from the moon and stars bleeds weak and diluted through the canopy. Still feeling spooked, the fire couldn't burn out fast enough as the night was setting around the campsite. A hush had fallen over the forest by the time I climbed into my tent. I read a couple chapters of fiction, breathed deeply, clicked off my headlamp. The night now dead dark. I am safe. I am confident. I am capable. I say to no one in particular. And then I add, I am brave. As if saying the words would convince me it was true. Despite my worried mind, my body so tired, I give it over to sleep. Within the hour, I'm torn from my slumber by the sound of wood being ripped and shredded. I sit up with a jolt, my heart pounding in my chest. The bear. It sounded close, too close for my comfort. And then I remembered the stump. I had seen the stump earlier, noted it torn apart by a bear, and yet I still pitched my tent 50 feet away. It didn't seem like there was anything left to eat in that stump, but apparently what do I know about eating carpenter ants? And then I snapped into action, adrenaline surging through me, stomping my shoes, clapping my hands. I didn't want the bear to be startled by us and feel the need to investigate. Ryder, who is usually oblivious to night noises, was ready to burst through the tent zipper. I anxiously snapped on his leash, held him tight, still the ripping of wood, so I clapped some more. The thrashing stopped. And once again the forest field was dead quiet. Phew, she heard us. Move on, good bear, I thought. Ryder settled back down, so I settled back down. I am brave, I whisper, as I slip back to sleep. 10 minutes in, my drowsy brain hears the telltale I forgot where it was. Do that again. Directed at our tent of a curious, concerned bear. Alone in a pitch black forest? I'm not going to sugarcoat this. The mantra was not working. I was freaked. And so again I clapped, I stomped my shoes. I think I even told her to go forage somewhere else. And again the forest fell, dead quiet. And I'm uncertain how long this drama played out. Her thrashing and foraging, me clapping and making noise, her huffing and puffing, then the forest falling silent, and me attempting to fall back asleep. At one point, her huffing and puffing felt so threatening that I couldn't stand it any longer, my body practically vibrating with fear. I slip on my headlamp and shoes, grab my car keys and the dog, and bolt for the car. We have to pass the picnic table to get to the car, parked about 100 feet away. And in my sprint, I don't take the time to look around at all. The night was absolute pitch black. And Ryder and I dive in. Immediately I hear a loud pop, pop, and I'm convinced she's investigating the water jug, the only item I'd left on the table. And despite being ensconced by steel and tempered glass, I was on hyper alert, jumping each time the dog took a deep breath. The dog sleeps decently, and I catch some sleep between cramped legs and imagining a roaring bear popping up in the window. The sky a dark, dark gray when I wake with a gut-wrenching stomachache. I had to get out of the car and get to a bathroom quick. 2/10 of a mile or so from the toilet and water spigot, only a couple city blocks, seemed a tolerable distance when I was pounding in the tent stakes, and now in the semi-darkness, with images of a bear rolling around in my mind, it felt unfathomable. I trot the whole way, dragging the dog, exclaiming, crap, 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 thinking some noise is better than none. The dog and I hang out in the toilet for a while. Poor Ryder, I can't imagine what he was thinking. I finally get the courage to walk back to the campsite. I'm imagining all sorts of scenarios, the water jug ripped open, the tent thrashed. And under the gently lighting sky, I find the camp completely untouched, the water jug on the table, the tent wide open, day pack sitting right inside, exactly as I left it. What a good bear, I think, just living like bears do, trying to satisfy her rumbly tummy. And I grab the stowed camp gear, and that's when I see the sticker. And in that moment, I realize it's a long path to walk. Be brave. You got this. And that brings me to epiphany number 2. Take a closer look. We have and continue to be fed what is beautiful nature. I like to call it sexy nature. It comes to us abundantly through algorithm biases. It's what media and Instagram shows us is to be what is to be sexy. And I think I was sort of looking for that when I headed out. But the car camping areas in these mountains, they're predominantly in the lower elevations. And combine that with the rugged steepness, the areas lean on panoramic vistas, that which we usually think of as sexy nature. But it was here, on the banks of the North Fork of the Salmon, and this is where I let go of my bias and my tendency towards habitual seeing and looking for sexy nature, or somebody else's sexy nature, when I woke to this. And I started to see these mountains, the Klamath Mountain province, the northern North Coast Range, for the beautiful, diverse uniqueness and unprecedented biodiversity, which I am just beginning to understand. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to tune into Backcountry Press's webinar series about this, but it has just been phenomenal, as they're going to be coming out with a natural history guide of these mountains, and I just can't wait for it to get to print. So these mountains they're absolutely beautiful and diverse, and it turns out that they are so incredibly unique, and that their biodiversity is just unprecedented. There's all sorts of areas there's these ancient rocks and soils that really define the growing areas in these mountains. They host rare endemic plants and a plethora of other beautiful and fascinating plant life. These mountains have the most amazing diversity of conifers. I have to think this picture is pretty sexy nature. And conifer lovers, and just forests in general. It's just so incredibly diverse. And there are huge trees that grow here that are not redwoods. And it's all situated in a river-carved landscape, colliding with wild beaches and coastal mountains, on public wildland encompassing nearly 4 million acres. So you do the silent cheer. Woo! Yeah, it's pretty spectacular. And that brings me to epiphany number 3. There are therapeutic health benefits that come from immersion in wild nature. Considering all my disease symptoms and how sensitive my body, I was baffled that I would come back from Wild Escape feeling really pretty good. So it turns out, not only is a date with nature like a vitamin for your soul, there are numerous scientific proven reasons why spending time in nature is good for you. Like mountains of melatonin that you receive from all the sunshine, which resets our circadian rhythms, and then therefore you sleep really deep. And I call that sleep deep by proxy. Like the endorphins and white cells that increase when you swim in cool water, or how your blood pressure lowers when you breathe tree aerosols, and the green spectrum saturation can actually settle the nervous system. How walking bare-skinned on the earth pulls up the electromagnetic energies from the earth itself and rebalances the whole body's immune system. But the greatest of these I call QDW. Q. The Q is for quiet, not silence. It is the absence of human-made noise. And getting into quiet spaces is a vacay for our nervous system. And there is just a wealth of other scientifically proven things about being in quiet spaces. But I'll have to admit, quiet was hard to find out there in these mountains. And it's not a surprise when you read things like the noise levels on our planet are doubling every 30 years. But the good news is I did find it out there. Do I have a hand raised or something? I'm not seeing anything. Is everything all cool?
You have two questions.
A couple of questions, okay?
Yeah.
Can they wait to the end?
Oh, yeah, they sure can.
Jackie, you don't sound very clear right now. Sorry, Jackie didn't sound very clear, but we do have two questions in the question and answer that we're happy to read to you if you'd like to.
Can we wait? Could they wait to the end?
Of course.
I'm almost there. Okay, cool. Thank you. All right, so the cue is quiet.
Well, they can only speak if they are asked to, but if somebody raises their, oh, I see one hand raised. We can allow you to talk, Laura.
I have everything turned off so I don't see anybody because it makes me really nervous. So, but I'd be willing to answer a question if we want to jump in real quick.
Go to the end.
Go to the end. I want to go to the end.
Go to the
Okay.
end.
Go to the end. All right, sounds great. So Q is for quiet. D is for darkness. And I have come to appreciate and love the darkness. And you may have remembered that last year for the Zero to Fierce Festival, I even led a night hike in the Arcata Forest. And this is something that I've been doing all winter long. And friends of mine will hear about me walking in the dark to get more comfortable with it. And I have. And now I really appreciate and love it. And I truly believe that our primal human selves need darkness. If for no other reason, and for the brevity of today, it's to feel the awe of the universe, that there is so much more than little old us, and to rest the sense of sight. We use our sense sight so much in our technological age, and we just need to rest that sense and then engage our other senses and let them have a chance in the arena. W is for wildness. And wildness is an expression of freedom. Freedom of flora, of fauna. Wildness is what excites us. And when we're excited, it increases the neurotransmitter dopamine. And keeping the dopamine levels balanced helps keeps humans healthy and balanced. So we need a certain amount of freedom and excitement in our lives. Epiphany number 4, recreation on public wildlands has a few issues that need attention. Issue number 1, the government land agencies, well-intended, claim public lands are for all. It's open to all Americans and equal opportunity. But I can honestly say, in the 75 plus camping areas I pitched my tent, of the other campers, less than 1% were people of color. 5% or less were women only. Less than 50% were families, but those families were white. The majority of campers out there were white men. So despite it being the 21st century, colonial racism is alive and well in the great outdoors. 2, recreation dollars have declined dramatically on our public wildlands, apparently because the interest in the outdoors has declined in our technological age. But this is leaving our camping areas and our recreation areas in complete disarray and with little to no services. But the 2020 pandemic summer painted an entirely different picture. People poured out into the wilds, and invariably for quiet, dark, and wild, even if they didn't know it. And places I had camped before entirely alone were literally bursting at the seams with people, like camping outside of the campground and into the adjacent area. And gobs of these people They didn't know how to treat these wild spaces very well. When I initially set out on my wild escape, I wasn't planning to write a book. But the but the need for one became apparent right away. Chronic illnesses have given me some highly sensitive superpowers. I'm a really highly sensitive person now. I feel all the stresses in the environment. So I consider myself your canary in a coal mine. For your health and for your planet's health, everyone needs to know about and experience quiet, dark, and wild. These are natural resources that need our attention and need our protection. And they start at home. It's the triple effect, that ripple effect, I mean, with a rock in a pond and that ripple that goes out. Ultimately, all humans just want to feel that they belong on and to the earth. And we all long to have a sense of belonging. So I want to help everyone get out there to the public wildland. So all Americans, every American, regardless, can find quiet, dark, and wild, and can find belonging on and of the earth. And in case you don't know how to get there or what to do, I want to help you with that too. So know this: when you are ready to step away from all the good works you do, when you're ready to slow your pace, even for a day, when you are ready to digitally detox, and when you are ready to pause from human doing and reconnect with human being, I want you to know I marked a path for you to easily follow into the direction of our wild mother. And here, in her arms, you may recharge your spirit. And I'm going to play about 2 minutes worth of slides. It's going to start off with a beautiful song that's being performed as a Brandy Carlisle song. It's being performed by Jackie Danino and Barb Culbertson. And at the end of that slide, 2 minutes, then I'll be glad to open it up for questions.
Patti, if you didn't check the boxes to share sound, the sound is not coming through. You might need to stop screen share and then start it.
Okay.
I know that's tricky.
Where do I do that at?
So you would just need to stop screen share and then go to that screen share, share screen button, and just there's 2 little boxes at the bottom of that dialog box that allow you to share sound.
Got it. Let's
And
try
then
it.
share again.
Oop. What did I do wrong now?
And then just go to share from current slide.
Is it working?
We're not seeing your slides right now, so just present from the current slide.
Present from current slide. I don't see what you're seeing.
Just when you start your slideshow again, that you hadn't started the slideshow from that point yet.
Is it doing it now?
No, go ahead and go back to that share screen. And now that you've already checked those boxes, you should be all good to go.
Wait, hang on a second. I'm not sure what's happening. What do you see?
We see you and you look lovely.
Sorry, everybody. This is what happens when you hang out in the woods all the time. No, I'm just kidding. I don't even have access to my share screen anymore. I don't know what's here.
I think your screen that just wherever your slideshow is, maybe you need to go back to that shared screen and then see if it'll let you click on your slideshow.
Okay. Uh,
Well, I can just share.
how's that? Is that working now?
We see your screen.
You see my screen. Now I need to just start my slideshow,
Up in
right?
the corner it
Yes, from
says
current slide.
There we go. Oh, that wasn't it. But we can move on here. There we go. You got it now?
Yes.
got it now.
Ever wandered lonely through the woods, and everything there feels just as it should. You're part of the life there, you're part of something good. Have you ever wandered lonely through the woods? Ooh, if you've ever wandered lonely through the woods. Have you ever stared into a starry sky? Lying on your back, you're asking why? What's the purpose? I wonder, who am I? If you've ever stared into a starry sky. Have you ever stared into a starry sky? Have you ever been out walking in the snow and tried to get back where you were before? You always end up not knowing where to go. If you've ever been out walking in the snow. If you've ever been out walking, you would know.
Ta-da! And that's my story.
May we share one or two questions with you, Patti?
Absolutely.
Jackie, are you going to do that? Would you like to?
Sure, I can do that. We have a question from Pat Bitten, and she said she's interested to understand why you choose to tent camp rather than car camp, or about why you chose to tent camp.
Well,
Go
I
ahead.
happen to love to feel the air. I love to feel and smell, and I want to be full immersion in the natural environment. So I haven't reached that point yet in my life where I want to be behind something hard-sided. The nylon is just enough, keep those mosquitoes at bay, but I absolutely just love to feel, like I said, the air and the aromas and the sounds. I love the sounds of the night. All of that. I want to be immersed in it.
Great. I had a little mic trouble there. There's also a question from Meredith Warda Highland. It says, "Thank you for being brave and coming today to tell your story. You are a lovely speaker and storyteller. Did you need a lot of convincing to appear publicly?"
Yes, actually, I needed to convince myself internally to do it, but actually, I always come back to this wonderful quote by the lovely Joan Shirley. And Joan Shirley had been coaching me from the very get-go when I said I was going to write a book. And she told me, "Patti, you need to learn to have visibility without fear." And that is what I've been working on. And it's all part of this journey about coming out and saying, "I'm sick. But that's the me, that's the new me. And I have a superpower with my sickness." And so that's coming out and saying having some visibility with fear. So yes, it did take a lot. And also why I'm so emotional. That's not, I don't have the skill to, to share things like this. So I get real close to the surface for me. But thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that.
There's a comment from Laura Munoz. It's not a question, but a comment. Patti, this is so inspiring. You are so inspiring. I love how you talked about nature, healing, and transformation. So that's from
Yay.
Laura Munoz.
Yes. Thank
And,
you.
and then Janelle Catalano says, do you incorporate journaling while you are camping?
Absolutely. Hi, Janelle. Janelle is one of the people that actually has joined me camping. So yes, hi. I'm so glad you're here. We braved out a really horrible campsite, but had an absolutely wonderful weekend together. Yes, I do. I always journal. I'm constantly journaling when I camp, and it's all over the place. It could be sometimes it's just discoveries of plants or trees. Jackie says I'm a naturalist, but I actually haven't gotten to that place where I take these time and I ID things and plants and animals in these mountains. It's more, I'm still at the place of getting to know them and I notice more things like patterns and things like that. And then I also sit a lot with my feelings and my feelings about all of this. But when I journal, I'm not bringing with me stuff from the other place. I like to bring myself to a place, and then I want to just be there in that place and in that moment. And so that's what I'm usually journaling and writing about.
Can we just ask you one more question? Because we are getting
Yeah,
up to the last minute here.
yeah,
Someone
absolutely.
really wants to know where to find your book.
Well, yeah, I'd like to know where you can find that too. So at the moment right now, so as you might have understood, it's a little different. It is a guidebook that I'm coming up with because I want to get everyone out there to experience quiet, dark, and wild and help everyone know how to do it. And I have 50 places where I feel like you can actually find some quality, quiet, dark, and wild in these mountains. And then it's also going to include all my anecdotes. So it's a little different. It's a little softer feel. It definitely, I would say it's almost a feminine approach, and I'm going to own that. It is. And so I don't have a publisher as of yet. I've fished to one and they said they're interested, but they've been busy. So I'm not sure, but I'm hoping that you will find that book in the co-op by June. So there you go.
That's awesome. So we can't hear you, Jackie.
Thank you so much for coming, Patti.
Thank you for having me. It was a great honor. Thanks so much.
Yeah, and just thanks for all that you do. And we'll keep people posted about your book too. When it is published, we'll let all the Playhouse people know and everybody here today know when that book comes out. So thank you so much. Big round of applause.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Happy Women's Fest, everyone.
Happy International Women's Day. Everybody stick around. We're going to do the women's coming up right now in about 1 minute. We're going to get going with that trivia. There are fabulous prizes. I just have to change my glasses and my hair. I'll be right back. Women's trivia with fabulous prizes.
We have one of our future participants being with us for just a moment while Jackie's getting ready. Can we say hello to Joan Shirley for just a quick second?
Hi. Hi. That was so fantastic. I can't tell you how much I loved hearing you, Patti, and how that quality that you said your emotions are right close to the surface. I hope that when your book is a bestseller and you're being interviewed on national programs, you can keep some of that because it's really powerful. It helps us understand how much this means to you. I really got it.
Thank you so much. Okay. I'm just here in our little tech chamber here for a moment. We're getting ready for the Women's Day Trivia, and we heard that if the Women's Day Trivia ends up getting finished a little early on the hour, we will also have an interview with Just Arts and Amy Ueki that Jackie will be presenting. Jackie, are you ready to take the stage?
Boy, howdy, am I ready to take the stage.